Welcome to Surrender School, Emotional Sobriety Workshop. Chapter 13, Living a Purposeful Life.
Well, welcome everybody. I really am happy to see all of your beautiful faces this morning. This was a very powerful chapter for me. I don't know about you guys, but I have felt like, what is the point? What is the point of all this? What is the point of all this struggle? What is the point of all this work? And finding meaning and purpose has really propelled me forward in my recovery. I'm just going to dive in. On page 241, Dr. Berger starts the chapter off by saying that step 12 helps us maintain sobriety by reminding us of our earliest days in recovery, keeping us inspired, helping us to be accountable to recovery principles, helping us regain integrity and trustworthiness, and asking us to stay in contact with others and giving us a sense of purpose. And the big book says our purpose is to be of maximum use to our higher power and our fellows. So he says that as we solidify our recovery and practice emotional sobriety, the psychological and spiritual applications of step 12 expand. We continue to peel back the onion to recover our true selves. And it's kind of funny how true that is when you're working with other people. You're working on their step 4, you're working on their character defects with them, but it is so helpful for your own recovery to look at that stuff. Because let's face it, we share a lot of the same character defects, a lot of the same maladaptive ways of coping in life. So helping someone else peel back the onion through the steps helps us do it ourselves. I think that's so cool. The steps and emotional sobriety help us to act with integrity in the outside world because we are internally aligned with our true nature. Essentially, we become whole by doing this work. Now, on page 242, Dr. Berger is quick to clarify that this does not mean we find wholeness and then do service, nor does it mean that we do service to become whole. Okay, the two work together. Our wholeness is a byproduct of the work that we're doing. That's, I would say, icing on the cake, but this is a food program. So he says, Dr. Berger says to remember that we are hardwired to move toward wholeness, to move toward self-actualization. When we do the work of moving toward wholeness, we flourish and we thrive. When we don't, we relapse back into our disease. That line in the big book about continuously enlarging our spiritual life. That stuff really works for keeping us sober, clean, abstinent, whatever. On page 243, Dr. Berger reminds us that we buried our true self early in life. We shifted our energies toward actualizing a concept of who we thought we should be in order to be loved, accepted, and to belong, right? This was just the same as depriving ourselves from oxygen. Our addiction, our emotional dependency, our unconscious compromises, our rejection of the parts of ourselves that didn't fit the blueprint, our dishonesty, and our lack of integrity. These were all symptoms of our true self's oxygen deprivation. We choked ourselves off from our human potential. By denying who we are and moving and growing toward wholeness, we choke ourselves off and keep ourselves in disease. Step 12 asks us to use our life experiences to help others. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we can see how we can benefit others, right? One of the 9th step promises. Dr. Berger believes this urges us to be of loving service, to have a purpose beyond self-serving interests, and to help others achieve emotional sobriety. Now, think about this for a second. In sponsoring, I've had lots of different sponsors over the years. I've had very controlling ones. I've had very loosey-goosey ones. I've had mothering ones. I've had confrontational ones. And it's really important when we move to sponsor. Yes, we benefit ourselves. Yes, sponsorship ensures our continued abstinence, but sponsorship isn't for us. It's for the people that we are sponsoring. It's not to help us feel in control. It's not for us to feel in charge or feel important or get our ego stroked or any of those things. Sponsorship is to help the other person that we are sponsoring. And that has to be first and foremost in our minds. It's a loving service, and its purpose is way beyond our own selfish needs and wants. That's why I don't fire people. I don't do that kind of stuff, because this isn't about me. This is about the other person. If the other person is willing to continue working, no matter what's going on or how well they think they're doing or whatever, I'm willing to be there with them. I think there's a picture of Bill. I think it's a famous picture of Bill with his arm around the shoulders of a fellow alcoholic. And it was like, I'm not going to give up on you. That kind of loving service. I know they talk about, in the working with others chapter about, if someone isn't interested, but that's for people who aren't willing to try it all or do anything. But if someone is willing to work, but they're having trouble, I am with them all the way. I am with them all the way. I'm not about putting notches on my belt about people who've recovered or not. I mean, this isn't about me, remember? So I just really love that whole notion of loving service, to have purpose beyond self-serving interests. Okay, on page 244, he says, this means we live our lives with a purpose greater than ourselves. To do this, we must find our gifts and cultivate them, and then give those gifts away. Now, I'm going to tell you, I found a website that's really cool, and I'm going to give you that website right now. It's a website that has an inventory or a test where you go through and you answer a bunch of questions, and it gives you your top 5 strengths or gifts. Okay. The website is viacharacter.org. It's VIA, the word character.org. And my top strengths came out to be a love of learning, discretion and caution, gratitude, analytical thinking, and curiosity. And I try and use these strengths in my service. And I really encourage you to start looking at yourself that way. What do you bring to the table with your sponsoring? What do you bring? What gifts can you bring? We are not, as sponsors, the be-all, end-all for the people that we sponsor. I always encourage people to go listen to all kinds of different stuff, all kinds of different podcasts and all kinds of recordings, because I'm only one voice. And my way might not necessarily be their way. So I want them to go out and find all this stuff. And we all have different gifts that we bring to sponsorship. And so I really do encourage you to take a look at your own gifts and what you can bring to others to be of service in this program. He talks about a purpose greater than yourself. And I think of it like a higher purpose or a sacred path. This is a very sacred thing to me. Step 12 in sponsorship is very, very sacred to me. It's a sacred responsibility. It's a sacred privilege. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. So he goes on to say that emotional sobriety offers us the opportunity to leave the tricks and tools of manipulation behind and to make our gifts and talents in the real world through service. It gives us practice to let go of manipulation and to use our gifts in service. Dr. Berger tells us the more we give away, the more we grow, and the stronger our practice of emotional sobriety gets. So the bottom line is all we need is a purpose greater than ourselves to serve, and we will grow. Think about that. And this isn't just limited to program, right? This is limited to nothing is limited. It is completely all encompassing. Your higher purpose, your sacred path may have to do with something completely outside of program, but the process of giving yourself to it and walking that sacred purpose, that sacred path, that will inform and grow your program. Okay, so it's not just program. Program's a wonderful and convenient way to do it, but it's not just that. Page 249, in the chapter, Tom's sponsor, his example of Tom, his sponsor was Flowbird. Her theme was loving action, love without a price tag. I think that's beautiful. Her sole purpose in life was to help the alcoholic addict who was still suffering. She radiated an inner peace and serenity. She had found her purpose in life, and she pursued it with a whole heart. And it helps to nail down your purpose into a couple of sentences. It really does, because when things get rough, you can remind yourself very quickly of what your sacred purpose is, what it is you're actually doing here. And I nailed mine down as my purpose is to be a radiant recovery exemplar to demonstrate that recovery is possible. Page 250, Dr. Berger quotes David Viscott. The purpose of life is to discover your gift. The work of life is to develop that gift. And the meaning of life is to give that gift away. That is a beautiful phrase. I think we should all put that on an index card and tape it up to our bathroom mirror so we can see it every day. Dr. Berger tells us that purposeful behavior attracts other people, and the person who has purpose also serves as a role model for others. This is the attraction of purpose. And remember the program slogan, right? Attraction, not promotion. Attraction, not promotion in this program. Tom felt the power and pull of Flowbird's purposeful life. She challenged him to get out of his self-centered trance. I love that phrase, self-centered trance. That describes perfectly what I am in when I am in my disease, because it is all about me and poor me and me. Okay. Flowbird's faith ran deep and fed the faith of those around her. The purpose that filled and fueled Flowbird's life had spilled over into Tom's life. Page 254. Dr. Berger says, when we humans see true purpose, the kind that springs from an honest inner spirit, we are naturally attracted. We want the same thing. We want to find a purpose of our own, and we want to live it. We seek purpose the way plants seek the sun. We seek purpose the way plants seek the sun. Purpose, but not perfection. This is a reminder. Just because we have found our purpose doesn't mean we don't need to continue to grow. we continue to practice recovery and emotional sobriety, we will make mistakes. We will learn and we will grow. This is how it all works. The practice is ongoing. It is not something we attain or achieve once and for all. This is the theme throughout this entire book. This is a practice. This is something we work on daily. This is something we will work on daily until we're dead, if we're lucky. Page 256. Dr. Berger makes an important distinction between purpose and work. Sometimes they are not the same thing. Sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not. You don't necessarily get paid for your purpose. The trick is to align your interests and gifts with your purpose, whether you get paid for it or not. Page 258. Dr. Berger ends the chapter by saying that when we look back at our lives in 5, 10, 15 years, we will be able to see more clearly what our life experiences were preparing us for. And I take a look back at my own life and my decades of being in and out of OA and in and out of relapse and believing with every fiber of my being there was no way I could recover. So all of those experiences have prepared me for being a sponsor for people who are chronic relapsers, for people who have been unable to get abstinence and have recovery in this program. Because I have been there and I have done that. I have lived there probably the majority of my adult life. So that's all I've got today on this chapter. This was a great chapter. I'm going to
See you next week.